Yeah. Yes.
We're a tight end.
Yes, and I think so. I think that might must have cute ways when I checked those. Yes. Yeah, so I put this in this process outline.
All right, let's get.
There you go.
So like, I'm trying to think like, this is related to.
Yeah.
Thought we were gonna take, building level.
Yeah.
That's because it's all the same. Yeah. Because we don't. Every one of our. I did. That's what I'm saying, right? Because it'll be honestly
Yeah.
No, I think. Yeah, I also feel like we're just in this place that's.
I guess so.
We're still here.
Everybody ready? We officially have quorum? We do. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, October 24th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. And I call to order this general meeting of the Intermediate District 287 School Board. We are so grateful for everybody who is with us tonight here in person and people who might be watching online or after the fact. So as always, we are going to start with reading of our mission statement to ground our work together this evening. And Board Member Shannon Andreessen is going to do that for us tonight.
Thank you. The mission of Intermediate District 287 is to be the premier provider of innovative, specialized services to ensure that each member district can meet the unique learning needs of its students.
And will you also begin board member introductions?
Yes, thank you. My name is Shannon Andreessen, and I am representing Hopkins Public Schools.
I'm Heidi Marty. I represent West Tonka Public School.
I'm Michael Birdman. I represent Edina Public Schools.
Kim Ross, I represent Eden Prairie Public Schools.
Dan Ginestra, Wayzata Public Schools.
Ruthie Dallas, representing Brooklyn Center Community Schools.
Ann Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park. And I'm Crystal Brackey. That is my name. See, it's okay when we mess up. So we have several board members who are not able to be with us this evening, but send their regrets. And we will move next to approval of the general meeting agenda. There have been no changes to the agenda. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ruthie Dallas and a second by Heidi Marty. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the motion passes. Next, we have open forum for community comments, which is time for members of the public to address the board. I don't think we had anybody sign up for time this evening.
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is approval of the consent agenda containing routine business items that we approve in a group unless there is an item that a board member would like removed for individual consideration. I didn't hear about anything in advance. Don't see anything. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Michael Birdman and a second by Kim Ross. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the motion is approved. And I went as fast as possible through all that to get to the reason why the boardroom is so full tonight. Our favorite part of every meeting, share the success and recognitions, and tonight specifically having a student spotlight on our career and tech center. So I'm going to invite Assistant Principal Scott Swanson up to the microphone, and then he gets to introduce our very special guests.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Superintendent Dowd. So I am Scott Swanson, Assistant Principal at our Career and Tech Center located in Hennepin Technical College in Eden Prairie. So just real quick, we have about 400 students that walk through our doors each day through our Career and Tech program, our Area Learning Center called Gateway, and our transition program for 18 to 22-year-olds. And I get to proudly introduce my staff and students today. So introducing our student is Michaela Nedham, who is our school counselor at the building. And I just want to say that our selection of Deja for our student spotlight was something that our leadership team discussed at length. And Deja is a student who exemplifies and really has touched all of the different parts of our Career and Tech Center. And she was a no-brainer for us to choose for our student spotlight tonight. So Michaela, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening. Hey, y'all. My name is Michaela Nedham, and I have the privilege of being the school counselor at Gateway to College in our Tier 1 transition program in 287. I'm really excited to be introducing our student spotlight tonight, Deja Seals. Deja transferred from Minnetonka to Gateway in our 22-23 school year and began her career with us at just under 13 credits completed and had around 8 credits left to go. Within the last year, Deja has truly shown us, her peers, her family, and most importantly, herself, how talented she is. From completing a CPR course and a Pathways Independent Living course with an A, attending and being a teacher support in our Pathways culinary class, to now attending a part-time college schedule with the goal to earn a certificate for emergency medical technician, all while steadily working on her Gateway core classes and supporting the people in her life. With all of this work, Deja is very close to graduation with just 1.75 credits left to complete and just completed a huge exam in one of her college classes with a 39 out of 40. Yes. But Deja, you and other students we work with are so much more than just these accomplishments. From day one, you have been an authentic, driven, and warm to others person. You are a model for not only your peers, but the adults that you work with. You are never afraid to support others in need, be straightforward and direct, even if it can be hard to say, and always do your best and try your best. You've never given up on any challenge you've faced, and that is a true skill that will take you so far in whatever and whoever you connect with. Please give me a warm welcome and congratulations to Deja Seals.
Good evening, everyone. Today I want to share with you about my experience at Gateway and what sets it apart from other schools. Before coming to Gateway, I was lost. My first couple of years of high school were pure torture. I went from getting straight A's to making an honor roll and winning awards in middle school to not making an honor roll or winning awards or getting straight A's. I didn't know if it was because of COVID or being at a new school or not having a sense of belonging or community or not having any support at all. Whatever it was, it nearly destroyed me. Coming to Gateway was a life changer. From the moment I stepped through the door, I felt an undeniable sense of community and belonging. Unlike many other schools where students may feel just like another face in a crowd, my school fosters a close-knit environment where everyone knows each other. This atmosphere encourages collaboration and some support among students, making it easier to form lasting friendships and connections. This is not just a place of learning, but a home where we can all grow and think together. One of the most significant opportunities for me has been the chance to take college classes for free, as well as to experience other learning opportunities while still being in high school. This program has opened so many doors and allowed me to explore subjects I'm passionate about, like my EMR and EMT classes, where I've learned to juggle a more demanding workload, which also teaches me valuable time management skills. One thing that has definitely helped me is having the support and encouragement of my teachers, For instance, both the teacher who teaches my EMR and ENT classes and the teacher who I took the independent living class with were very supportive and always encouraged us to think critically and challenge ourselves. Being in these classes is not only advancing my academic journey, but has also helped me build confidence in myself and my abilities to do things outside my comfort zone. For instance, in my independent living class, I got the opportunity to try wooding for the first time. This is not something I ever thought of doing before, and I actually enjoyed it. I am grateful that this program has allowed me these opportunities, and I can proudly say that one thing I will gain out of it is a certification as an EMR. Another thing I enjoy about attending Gateway is the flexibility they provide. I could be out sick for weeks or caught up in my home life without getting any work done, and go back to school and start where I left off without stressing about catching up because I missed so many days. I think it's very beneficial to do work at your own pace without having all that stress. The staff at my school is dedicated and approachable, always willing to offer guidance and support. Their commitment to our success is evident in the way they go above and beyond to guide and help us succeed, not just inside but outside of school as well. This level of engagement has been a game changer for me and has made me feel valued as a student. As I reflect on my journey, I am grateful for the connections I've made along the way. The friendships I built with my classmates have been instrumental in shaping my time at Gateway. We celebrate each other's success as well as supporting each other during challenging times. The relationships I developed with my teachers have been awesome. Not only have they made a life-lasting impressions on me with their brilliance, they allowed me to open up on my worst days and helped me evolve into the person I am now.
Deja, do you want to introduce your support squad? Because I believe all three of them are open to questions if we have.
This is Bella.
Hi,
and
I'm
this is
Bella.
Tiara.
Hi, I'm Tiara.
And are both of you students like Gateway?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Are there questions for any of these three wonderful special guests? Go ahead.
I know that you mentioned a lot of the things that you appreciate and love about Gateway, but is there one thing that stands out, like maybe from all three of you, like maybe just everyday thing that is great?
I think I would just say the community and the staff support has really stuck out to me compared to like going to my old school. And I think that's been a really big game changer for me and has made me a better student today.
I would also say the teachers also, I think they're very awesome and they're kind and they're caring. And yeah.
I like how it's not like so crowded or like loud. It's like the students.
It's like 15, about like 10 to 15 per class, around that.
Nice.
You each have like a favorite course you've taken, favorite class you've taken?
Man,
That course was like more like a individual living, like that's what I took. That was the best
kind of
class I
thing.
took.
I think independent living was one of my favorite too. We learned a lot of just life skills around the house that are really helpful to learn.
Like what kind of things?
We learned how to change a doorknob, how to change a tire, how to change our oil, how to paint, how
Life
to
fixtures.
Yeah, we built
Is that all new students? 'Cause
What were some of your other courses?
I've taken, I'm trying to think of my other.
culinary.
Culinary was another one, which was really fun. We learned a lot of different cooking skills, just basic cooking skills like how to use different knives and all that stuff, which was really fun.
Yeah. I've taken health and wellness. We just like talk about our health and like exercising and what keeps you in shape and stuff. Yeah.
You mentioned taking college courses. So what was your perception of that before you started taking the college course? And now that you have, What changed?
It's not as hard as I thought it would be. It's very easy. If you like pay attention and do the quizzes and ask questions, then you'll be fine.
Next.
Did you write your statement?
Yes.
Then I see why you said that. Beautiful writer.
Thank you.
And you delivered it really nicely, but you're, I could tell you're a beautiful writer, and
Thank you.
so you're super close to being done.
Yep.
So
There's
we're gonna
history
see
left.
you at graduation.
Yep.
Awesome. Can't wait. Well, thank you so much to all three of you, but especially to you, Deja, for like the work that put into coming here tonight and sharing this with us. We know it can be intimidating as a
Mhm.
room full of strangers with a microphone and a camera, and you did a fantastic job, and really appreciate the two of you for supporting Deja in this moment as well, and for the whole crew for being here. Thank you so much. This truly is the highlight of our night. We get to stay here and keep doing some business, and just want you to know, you can stay with us. Or you can make your way to wherever you're gonna go next in your tours.
Thank you.
All right. As a board, we're going to move to the Business Services and Labor Relations Report, where we have three reports this evening. First up is the Facilities Report, our annual 2024-2025 Facilities Department Report that will be presented by Brian Schultz. So Brian, take it away. It is.
Well, thank you, Chair Brackey, board members, Superintendent Dowd. I always feel like following up some of those are always the hard ones to do. And we're going to talk facilities and we're going to talk finance, but facilities are kind of
It's
fun too,
important.
actually, when you're making improvements to our facilities and what our students and the buildings they're in and our staff. So it's exciting as well. So this evening, I'm here to present the 2024 Facilities Department update to the board. This is just a summary, some of the highlights of what has been done over the past year and then some of the future projects we have planned. While the pictures and the presentations they're great to give you just a glimpse of what happened, but we do encourage you, and I know you do get in our buildings, but it's great to get out and actually see them, and because we do have some wonderful facilities in our district. So tonight's presentation is really to give the board a better understanding of the projects that were completed over the last year, projects that are in process, as well as potential future projects. So before I get into talking about the slides and the projects that happen, I just want to note, you see the blue bubble in the upper right that says LTFM bond. So those are the funds we use, the facility maintenance bond funds that we used for those projects. So if that's on the slide, that project was funded by that. And if it doesn't, then we just used our annual operating capital budget that is part of our annual approved budget. So getting these extra long-term facility maintenance funds goes a long way to maintaining and upgrading our facilities. So the first project, we'll start with the District Service Center. So we did an LED lighting retrofit. So the entire building, we changed out all of the fixtures and put in LED fixtures. So not only does this save energy, but it gives better lighting. As you can see right on the picture on the left there, you can see the first two lights are the new ones, and the ones going back are the old lights. You can see how yellow or orange and almost a dingy light that it gives off. The new lights are more of a daylight, crisp, gives a lot better lighting for staff. But with these, with LED, you are able to, with the new controls, they're dimmable, so staff can reduce, increase to their liking. There's also daylight harvesting, which is where if there's a bright sunny day and you have windows close to to those lights, they will automatically dim because of the light to save energy. And then there's motion sensors throughout now, where most of, I think everything prior to this was, it's either on or it's off. And if you don't turn it off, it's on the entire time. Well, now it's time to go down or turn off. And then as you walk in the room, it will turn back on. So that's pretty significant. In our hallways, we don't turn them all the way off, but they will power down to say 20%. So there's some light, but as person walks in, they'll go up to 80%. So they have bright light when they walk through. So those are just some ways to save some significant energy as well. This project will reduce energy consumption at the DSC by 83%.
Oh, wow.
With a projected savings of 33,000 annually. So there's some significant savings. And then this project, we did receive approximately $102,000 in rebates from Excel and some of the et cetera, which was almost half the cost of the project. So half of it was really funded with rebates. So overall, and then within 3 years, you've paid for the project with savings. So it's an excellent upgrade in the DSC. And we do have, and I'll note later, we only have one site currently that does not have LED lighting, but I'll talk more about that in a little while. And then another project that occurred was the phase 2 solar project at the DSC. So there was a section of roof that needed to be replaced, but instead of putting solar panels on, taking them off to replace the roof and then reinstalling, which is quite costly, we decided to wait, do them in 2 phases. So this is the second phase. Last summer, the roof was completed. So now this was installed over the summer and it's going to be online here in the next month, I believe. So this will double the size of the solar panels that we have on the DSC, and it's projected to save an additional 30% of utility costs at the district service center. So another great project. Moving on to South Education Center. So this is this is probably our biggest project over this last summer. So we redid the entire roof at South. So as you can see, this roof was at its useful life. We were past the warranty and we were starting to have failures on the roof. So this was a big project. When we go to the next slide, you'll see the difference of what that looks like after the work was completed in June. So this is a built-up roof where they do multiple layers, either asphalt and other materials, insulation, and then they cover it with rock at the end. So this new roof will last 20 to 25 years is its life expectancy. So a big project here. And similar to the DSC with solar, we already had solar plans going for South Education. They started installing panels last Friday. So they had cranes out last Friday over MEA to put all of the solar panels. So all of those roofs that you see there will be covered in solar panels. And that will, I have a stat here, that is going to be our biggest savings generator from solar power because it does have the most roof space. It's projected the first year savings of over $42,000 in energy or producing energy that we wouldn't have to pay through Excel prior to it. So another significant project that is going on and planned to be done in November and then hope with the installation and hopefully online by the end of the year. A couple other things that we had some wall and concrete repairs at South. I just kind of put these out. We do those all over and I'll mention that a little later in the presentation. But you can see on that right picture, the bottom under that right next to the sidewalk that is new, you can see the color difference in the wall. That was starting to deteriorate. So they replaced that whole bottom section of the wall and the sidewalk, as well as where you see the, I'm trying to think what you call that in the picture on the left. Pergola. There you go. Where you can see those were also replaced at the bottom there along the sidewalk. So there's some changes at South. At West, as part of the ongoing maintenance that we do district-wide, they're on a phased carpet replacement. So they were in phase 2 of potentially 5 to 6 phases. So over time, right, we phase in the work. We do an assessment of the different areas within the building and then replace the most worn first. And we do that in phases to stay within, right, with all of the other projects we have going on, to stay within our annual budget with capital funds. So that's why we do a phased approach. So these are a couple examples of some of the replacements that occurred. it looks great when you kind of go through and you see some of the older areas and then you see the refreshed new areas. It does make a big improvement to the building. And then some of them too, where it's not just carpet, it'll be like LVT, depending on the room and the use of the area, because that's a lot easier to clean and maintain than carpet can be. But then, right, carpet can help dampen sound. So there's a balancing act between which surface we replace with. West was our only location that did not have a flagpole at the front entrance of the building. So we've made that a priority this year to get that done. And that's right. It's not a huge project. It's from a dollar standpoint, but that's significant. That was something we should have there. So that was done over the summer as well. At North Education, there was a build out of the previous ELC space or early learning childcare space that we had. It had been open for the last couple of years as we haven't had that programming. So they were changing the space to provide elementary programming at North in this location. So they did build, as you can see in these two pictures, some breakout learning spaces in each and 3 of the classroom. This is an example of 2 of those. So that really did turn out well. And I know that was one of the projects that was budding up to the start of school. And I know Aslan was getting a little nervous there that it wouldn't happen. And I know that happens a lot with facility stuff where everybody, right, it looks like a mess yet at the end and it cleans up rather quickly and looks polished by the time school starts. So that did happen. And then there was also a boiler replacement at West. So we've been doing that. I think it was DSC last year. This year it's at North. So the picture on the left is the old KN boilers. We replaced them with 2, and they were at end of their useful life. And right, it's starting to be more costly to repair than to. It's better to replace than continue to put dollars in the repairs. But we did replace with 2 AeroCore high efficiency condensing boilers on the right. It's just kind of amazing when you look at the technology of how it's changed over time, and that's in a 15-year period roughly. The new boilers have a 99% thermal efficiency rating. So that means that 99% of the output that it does, it produces in heat. So it's 99% efficient. So they're very high efficiency boilers, and it has a 20-to-1 variable. They have 20-to-1 variable frequency fan motors, which also adds additional efficiencies. And I don't know if you had, depending on what type of furnace you have in your house, it's similar. Where sometimes I know my older furnace, it was right, it kicks on and it's full blast, and then when it reaches temp, it stops. Well, a variable one it'll just go down and it'll maintain a flow of air and maintain a better temperature while using less energy to do it. So it could go down to, right, using 5% of power while maintaining a level set temperature versus having to kick on when it asks, well, I need it to be 70 degrees. So it's similar to, right, the all on, all off, just a lot better efficiency. A couple projects that were requested by the building at Ann Bremer. The first was to install a perimeter fence at the back of the school. This was requested and done as an additional safety measure for eloping students. So this creates barriers to help prevent students from leaving right the back of the building or our designated property. And this is to minimize them getting into right harmful and dangerous situations. It's for their safety as well as our staff safety. So part of our property did have fence in the back. There's a drainage pond on the northwest corner of the property. So there was a fence already around that portion. So we went from that fence, and that's the picture on the right. It's a long length. It's the length of the whole back. And there's a little baseball diamond back in the back corner. So it goes from there all the way to that fence that went around the drainage pond. And then on the north side, which is the left picture, there's a road that comes in for Xcel Energy or other utilities that they have access to the property. So we there's just a little portion there that we put in, and there's a gate to allow those vehicles for access in those situations. So this will significantly help with student safety with eloping students. So good project. And the second one they did was to add a gazebo at the back of the property as well, back by the playgrounds. The school did receive grant funds for the materials for the gazebo, and our facility staff installed it. So overall, it wasn't a significant cost, but it added a great feature to the back of their property. So it was a great project for ABEC. And then district-wide, not really site-specific, just things that have happened over the last year. So ash tree removal was pretty significant in the last year. We had approximately 60 trees, 60+ trees district-wide, with almost half of those at West. That were right when they start to die, they get very brittle and can be safety hazards and cause property damage, etc. So we took all of those down, and now we're currently looking at a replacement cycle, try to get. It may not be like for like, but we'll get some, well, it won't be ash trees anyway, so they won't be that for sure, probably elm, so. So we were looking at doing replacement to, add beauty and, yes,
The cost of removal of trees, is that covered under the LTFM?
it is not.
It is not. So
It is not.
It's under the general fund, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, a lot of the LTFM, it has to be somehow attached to your facility in a way, right? Yep. So, and then drinking fountains, that was just some quick, easy upgrades in some of our sites. We have a bunch of older, just the bubbler where you can drink out of it, where we upgraded to drinking fountains that now have the bottle fill stations, which is great for staff. They're filtered. It's really great to have those in the facilities. Building painting, this is an annual cycle, gets rotated throughout the years to facilities, again, working at the areas that need the most, to have the most need for painting upgrades, or, yeah. But most of the work this last year was done at North and South Education Centers. So that is where a lot of our painting was focused this last year. And then again, as I mentioned with the South, various concrete sidewalk repairs are always done each year. The facilities department does an assessment, looking for cracks, crumbling sidewalks, things that could crippling hazards that could be dangerous. So we do this minor concrete, parking lot patches, etc. Parking lot striping is similar. It's reviewed annually, right? With the sun and weather, they start to fade, and each year we kind of just go through and do some upgrade painting of our parking lot striping. And then door replacement annually. Again, it's similar. We go through all of our sites, do an assessment, looking for which doors need replacement, which ones need repair, so they're ready for the new school year. Because some of those repairs can be costly too, right? With all of the electronic locking and security mechanisms in those. And then what do we have for the future? So currently we're working with our architect, LHB, on the south parking lot project. So we're hoping to bring that to the board, or go out to bid either later November, early December, which this project would get done this next summer. So hopefully we'll have something to bring to the board late December, early January for a bid approval. The ABEC HVAC replacement, that was actually the bid was on the board consent agenda this evening. So that is done and will be taking place this summer as well. And the other two, the SEC HVAC system repairs, we're working with LHB on that one as well. So we have some geothermal, that site has geothermal heating and cooling. So we are working with there's some issues going on with that. We're trying to determine if we can flush the system, what kind of repairs need to be done there, but we're hoping that we can have that project happen over next summer. And then there's the windows and foundations at West. So this is on the west side of the property. As you're walking up from the parking lot, there's some of those windows go all the way down to the foundation, and there's been some leaking and some air quality that we're looking at with LHB and replacing those windows and foundations and some of the grading around the building to help prevent that. And that should happen this next summer as well. And then a couple potential future projects. So I mentioned the LED. West is our only site that does not have LED lighting at this time. So we actually have the company that did the DSC. They're currently, I think this past week, have been out assessing West to potentially do the same project there. So hopefully we'll get some good news back there and we can get some of the same type of rebates we did when we did the DSC. So that would be a great upgrade. And then West is also the only site that does not have rooftop solar. And LHB is working with us. We're checking the structural capacity of the roof there. So we're determining if that's a feasible plan. And if it is, we will plan on moving forward to adding solar at West as well. And with that, I'm at the end, but I would just like to give a big thanks to the facility team. They do a lot of work. A lot of it's behind the scenes, and sometimes, right, they don't really get recognized or thanked, and sometimes they do, right? But it is a lot of behind the scenes, but we show up and we expect our buildings to look clean, operate correctly, et cetera, and they do a great job of making sure that happens. And then I would like to do a big thank you to the board, right? Without your support, when I think of like the LTFM bond funds that we get, without your support in getting those approved and through, a lot of the projects that we talked about wouldn't get done with the budget that we have for capital items at District 287. So a big thank you to the board. And with that, I will open it up for questions.
Thank you, Brian.
Mhm.
Are there questions or comments?
I just make a comment. Reason why I mentioned about the LFTM or LTFM is that what I love seeing is that we're spending those dollars to improve the facilities, which then has an operational reduction in cost. So we pay our operations through our general fund, not through the bonding fund.
Mhm.
The general fund is the thing that we have more limits to as far as what we can do with that. So I always love hearing the type, not just on our return on investment in 3 years, but just in general, it gives us capacity on the general fund side.
Correct.
That's a really wonderful use
Mhm.
of bond funds to be able to make that happen and given our limits of what we can do. So
Yep,
that's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for our, the windows you mentioned that were kind of at ground level and there were some leakage problems. Was that because they'd like sunk the foundation, the building had sunk, kind of settled into the foundation?
It's partly that, and some around the building, there's actually berms that go up the walls of the building, and so it's really drainage. And over time, things do settle, so it ends up backing up towards the building, so it's both structural with the windows going to the ground level, so I think, right, some of the recommendations are to go more half wall and then windows the way up, so you still have a lot of natural light, but yet you get a better barrier along the foundations, but a lot of it is around the actual grading of the property as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Just that Dan and Ruthie and Heidi and I all got to see the like kind of breakout spaces
yes.
at NEC when we were there on the bus just last week, right? Yeah, and that
Really
those,
nice.
so it was, yeah, they were super nice, and just the whole sort of change to make that space for our younger, not as young as they're used to be in there, but
Right,
our
yep.
younger kiddos
Mhm.
was really fantastic.
Yep.
Great work.
Good.
Great, thank you. I believe you get to stay
I do.
right where you are.
Yep.
Because next up is the routine monthly finance report, which we will be asked to approve this evening.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Board members again. So just as a reminder, right, with the finance quarterly reports, each quarter I do a presentation to the board. And then all of the other months, we just put on the consent agenda with all of the same information that you see. It's just not the formal presentation. So just a reminder of that. So now we're here for the first quarter of fiscal 2025, at the end of September. Okay, thank you. So getting into the revenue and expenditures through September. So overall, we've collected a little, just under $42 million, which is about 31% of our budget, which is slightly above the prior 2 years. So, and again, in a good situation, collections are coming in, getting state aid payments regularly. And a lot of that has to do with, right, our estimates for our budget and special ed expenditures going into the next year. So that's showing we have some good estimates in there from our finance team. Expenditures are just under 19 million, and that's about 14.5% of the budget for fiscal 25, which is slightly below. So again, in a good situation there, you'll see when we get to the cash graph, you can see, right, we're collecting more than we have in the past couple of years, spending a little bit less of our budget and then the last couple of years. And you'll see when I get to the cash flow or cash graph of where we're at from a cash standpoint, how that's kind of affecting that. I can go to the next slide, Winnie. And it also affects investments. So we began the month with about $26 million in general regular investments, about $270,000 in interest and dividends. And then we moved in an additional $9 million into investments. So we monitor our cash flow and anything that's in excess of what we really need over the next several months to year and a half. We like to put in investments that we can earn additional interest for the general fund. This is similar to, right, energy savings. If we can take our budget dollars and make additional dollars to support the budget, that's great. So we do monitor that closely. And we're in a very good cash situation. So we did add 9 million. So we're at almost $36 million of investments at the end of September. And to put that in perspective, I think I have it here, and I talked about it at one of our budget meetings with one of our committees. 3 years ago, so fiscal 20, I'm just kind of looking at my graph. We'll go back to fiscal 22. So that budget year, we earned a little over $50,000 in interest revenue. This year, last year, I should say now, fiscal 24, the one we're getting done with the audit, we made just under $1.9 million in interest. So that kind of goes, right, we all understand where we were with interest rates. We were making next to nothing for several years. But now when interest rates, we were making close to 6% on a lot of our investments. And when you have $35 million of excess cash, we made some significant interest, which is great from a budget standpoint in helping District 287 as well as our member districts. We also have our construction investments. So we had started at about 3.2 million, earned 34,000, and then had draws of a little over 42,000 for projects that were happening over the summer. So we ended around $3 million. And I didn't mention that in the previous presentation. So as of today, or roughly today, we have about 2.8 million of LTFM bond funds remaining for those future projects I talked about. So here's the cash flow chart, just kind of showing the 3 years of where we end on a cash basis with our cash balance. So that includes, right, our cash in our checking accounts as well as our investment accounts. Does not include LTFM. Some of those other required, like debt service, wouldn't be in there. But we have 35 million, almost 35 million this year at July. So we're up to 45 million in September. So we had some pretty good operating results in fiscal 24, which adds to our, right, if it adds to some reserve that we have, it increases our cash balance. And then collecting a little bit more, spending a little bit less, gives a little bit more of a cushion. So from a cash standpoint, we're in a great situation. And with the interest rate environment where we're at, it's a good place to be as well. Disbursements for the month, we had about 5.7 million in accounts payable, 3.5 million for payroll, and total disbursements about 9.2, which is similar to previous years. And then receipts of a little over $11 million. So that's July through September when we think of that, or that's just September. But there are some larger payments when we're cleaning up the audit that you get that are prior year, right? You get some of your funds in the previous fiscal year, and then they give you the rest after the fiscal year to make sure that the MDE doesn't pay you too much. So that's part of the reason for the significant receipts in September. All right, I think that is, oh, I do want to mention, typically on these reports, we do have enrollment. The first one, we typically do not, as we're still cleaning up the final, right? We just had September, getting all the 15-day drops, making sure data's clean and accurate. We will have an enrollment update at the November board meeting. So you can see where we're at starting fiscal 2025. I just wanted to note that, and then they will start to show up as well in these reports the rest of the year. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions about the September 2024 monthly report before we take a motion?
I remember you and I having a conversation a few months back where I asked you about, because interest rates are so high, we're putting, our dollars into, cash funds and however that might be. And you mentioned that there are like limits on how long we're able to hold on to some of those investments, how long those dollars can stay in certain accounts. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, right. There are statutes around what types of investments we can, and they're quite conservative, right? A lot of it's certificates of deposit, a lot of guaranteed, so districts don't lose their principal. Typically, you can go out about 2 years with those investments with CDs, and we've done some with the amount of cash we have. We have gone out longer, especially now is a good time to do it when they're starting to reduce interest rates. So if we can lock in some of those higher rates for an extended period of time, that will help us it looks and feels like we're going to see those continue to go down. Well, does that answer your question?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the September 2024 finance report as presented? So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ann Casey and a second by Ruthie Dallas. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the motion is approved. Thank you. You get to sit down.
Thank you.
Kevin Witherspoon gets to come on up for our final presentation of the night, the 2024-2025 staffing report.
Oh, I got it. Good evening. Chair Brackey, members of the board, Superintendent Dowd. I was first here in September. I can't remember if it was the first or second meeting in September for a staffing update. At that time, there were some questions and some additional information that you had sought. So I'm here tonight with that information. So just to ground us where we were. So we had 95 new hires, and we'll just go back. So local 229, that is our teachers, licensed and non-licensed staff. We had 76. Our local 284, which consists of our maintenance custodians, office professionals and such, we had 7. And then principals, assistant principals, 7, and administrator, unaffiliated, 5 positions. That's how we came up with the 95. So that just grounds us where we're at. You would ask for some demographic information about race. And so here we have the breakdown. There were 51 identify as white and 44 identify as BIPOC. And you can see the breakdown. I actually wish I could see the breakdown from here. But, and then this slide here just shows the the distribution by race, by position. So if you notice, our licensed staff is predominantly white. And if you look, what you notice is that our ESPs are predominantly African-American. And then if you look at the DSC staff by ethnicity and race, the blue is percentage from 23-24 school year, and the red is currently 24-25. And so it's relatively stable, but if you look at the numbers, we are diversifying our district office staff. And then I just did a breakdown by our licensed staff by ethnicity and race, and you can see the two colors by years. We're relatively stable. Again, diversifying a little bit when it comes to the, there's a little less white staff and a little higher percentage anyway, of staff that identify as Black. I broke down ESPs as well. As I talked before. We have a larger population of African-American or Black staff in our ESP ranks. And then our 284 staff. And then our unaffiliated staff, which is also pretty stable, but making some progress when it comes to diversifying as well. Now we'll get to the slide that I'm most excited about, which is promotion data. And so if you take a look of the staff that was promoted, and so I just took a moment in time. So August 28th, 23, and then August 25th, 24, we look at there were 23 ESPs that were promoted to different position or promotion, 9 licensed staff, 3 administrative staff, a temporary person was promoted full-time and in a promotable position, and then 2 unaffiliated staff. Where did they go? If you look at the promotional data, oh, I'm sorry. We'll do the data first, but 23 were white, 13 were Black, 1 multiracial, and 1, I'm sorry, looks like non-Latino multi-race, and then 1 is Hispanic Latino or multi-race. And then the next question is, where do they go? And so I think this is important, slide 2. So of those ESPs that were promoted, 8 of them became instructors. 3 of them became administrative support staff. 1 became a student safety coach. 1 became a family engagement specialist, a professional support liaison, 2 of them. And then, of course, we talked a lot about our iTrack program, where 8 of them are in that iTrack program. Any questions you might have?
Can you just put that one back up so we can?
I would be happy to put that one back up.
Yeah, that's a good,
This
that's
is
a
great.
good one to have
This
on
is
there. Thank you so much for collecting this information and bringing it back so quickly. I think it was really clear and really well presented. Questions or comments?
If I may just add one thing.
Of
So
course.
although I am presenting it, I do want to recognize Maya Yang, our data analyst, who actually pulled the data, had lots of conversations with me about what it meant. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Thank you, Maya.
Yep.
Questions, comments? Michael?
You might go back to 7.
Sure.
So this is our ESP staff by ethnicity and race. This is great. I'm glad to see this in the right direction. I'm curious as to how well does this marry up with our student population? So of our student population, are they seen in the diversity of our ESP staff? Are they seeing themselves represented?
I don't have the
Assume that
dem-
it would. I know it's
Yes.
not on there. I get
Yep.
that. I'm assuming it is, but I'm just curious as to when I see something like this, to compare how we're doing in that hiring process and being able to make it as part of our strategic kind of initiatives that we have. How is that blended together? Because
Very
you
much
are-
so mirrors more or closer anyway to our students and ESP staff.
and then as far as the licensed staff, that would probably be just like it is in, I think, every home district that we're talking about here has the same problem of what it is. I guess what I don't hear, not just at 287, but even in Edina, I don't quite hear what is our actual target that we're trying to, if we're going to do like a step pyramid towards achieving something, what is our actual first line goal that we would like the previous slide of 6? What would we like to see in our first iteration goal? And I'm not saying I would expect to hold you to that because it's a complicated problem. But I'm just curious, if we don't have a goal about what that is, it's hard to then measure or to affect our strategies towards what that is. And I'm sure you have that. I'm sure Superintendent Dowd has that. I'm just curious. I'm just looking for dialogue about that.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's also, all district, we have the same conversation, right? We're all vying for some of the, 2 or 3% of diverse teaching staff that are out there.
Yeah.
I think, where we are making strides though is in the iTrack program, for
Yeah.
instance. Targeting people who might not have an education degree, but have a bachelor's degree and get a tier 1 license or a tier 2 license for those who are moving to the state. And I think that is where we have to spend some of our time, because we already know the population of people who are in school or graduating from school are number one smaller, just in general, but yeah.
But do you think that it's in our community at large and, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I would, the easy answer is it needs to be our students.
Yep.
Right.
That's easy, that would be our goal. I think that's you probably hear that very generically for.
Yeah.
It's getting there, and why, one of the reasons why we do iTrack, or we do other build your own pathways, is because the tradition.
Right.
And so we do it ourselves, just we tap on the shoulder and people that work in District 287 and say, have you ever thought of support you? Because they're already committed. In one of the data that we did around iTrack is we know that if a staff member, an ESP specifically that works in the 74, they're committed. And they're not, they've been here more than 5 years. And so how are we helping them in their journey in multiple pathways to whatever that may be, either a licensed teacher in the classroom, social worker, psychologist, all of the licensed positions and or other positions that we have in the district. It's an easy answer, but it's also,
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. That's why I kind of tried to qualify it a little bit by a step, right? That's the iTrack, which is, maybe that's one of the answer to the first step is having those 8 iTrack enrollees, if you will, that we're working to make that happen. That's kind of like our first step. But then it's like, do we have capacity to then, okay, if we got 8 this year, do we have capacity to get 10 the following year? Do we have capacity? Because only will you, as you increase those, the height of that step, can we slowly get to the point of the overall goal of meeting the distribution of our student population.
I think what's new for District 27, we talked about is that we have a data analyst now. So this is our base data.
Yeah.
We've never had that. I mean, consistently. And so it's not just the data, it's the people behind the data, it's the people hiring, it's on the onboarding practices. All parts of the system, regardless if you have a license or not, even to, is this a welcoming environment that will support the increased diverse staff in the district? So it's not just a licensure pathway.
Right.
That we talked about, it's all of the other components to it. This is not a welcoming environment where staff can succeed, they will not stay here. And so numbers are one thing, our environment, our culture, how we support our staff is more important than the numbers. So retention, start seeing baseline data like this. My role in PRS team is talking about retention.
Yes.
So in November, you're gonna get an amazing presentation from the equity department regarding what we've learned about people that stay, people that leave, and how that, for me, is gonna be more of a solution than.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
In any successful business that exists out there, retention is everything.
Yeah.
That,
That's a ticket.
Review to make sure people have it in their culture.
Yeah.
And Michael, I would say that some of the other things too, and Marcy's working on it too, sources of funding,
Yeah,
right?
of
To do some
course,
of this
yes.
work too is important, and Marcy's working with that. I also wanted to mention too, we have other grow your own programs other than iTrack too that we continue to work with. And then, our greatest source of staffing is our current staff, right? Referrals. And we do offer a little referral bonus for staff too, so.
yeah, I love all that. My question was not in any way, shape, or form meant to be we're not doing enough. But it's more the frustration over, you hear consistently that this is the goal that people have, but unless you create the capacity of people in this space for you to then go higher, or to build your own or whatever it is. You could have whatever goal you want for that. You're not gonna tangibly make an impact to it. And I think that's the part both at the legislature, I think in the general community as well, that's the narrative I think that's important to say, because the amazing efforts that I think we're doing here at 287, and I'm sure each member district has its own unique challenges of what it's trying to do. I think it just falls on outside of our little world of our four walls. I just don't think people really fundamentally get, but the students and their families, they sure as heck experience it and feel it every day.
Yeah.
So, a few questions. So kind of like, I think, there was some comment from either Cheryl or the superintendent about like our breakdown or our kind of our spectrum. So, in terms of like, our staff becoming increasingly non-white, is that like at a certain age group, is this kind of new hires? Is this kind of, in kind of an older cohort that we might see, or is there kind of a point where, okay, staff younger than 30 are a lot more diverse?
Anecdotally, I would say yes. And I think it's probably that age, 25 to 35, probably.
And then, you mentioned that the majority of our ESPs are African-American. Is that correct? I want to,
Yep.
oh, actually, that's correct. Okay. I mean, historically, has that been the case? I mean, is that kind of the,
It doesn't move. I was going to go back to the slide.
What slide did you go to?
7.
I mean, so it's
Last 2 years.
the last 2 years is
Yeah.
the majority. Okay. All right.
I wouldn't say that it necessarily was like over the last 2 years, but historically, that's profile at District 7. And the student speak up. Yeah. And to your first comment, we'll dive in deeper into what Carl represented is, we know we can predict when people will leave District 287. She's gonna go into a lot of that data that you're asking, and just age bands based on pay, years in the district, so it really will be quite exciting.
Are you feeling nervous?
Not at all. Look, this is what Maya does.
Excited.
Going to inform some of the systems.
Yeah, did you have more questions or those two? No, you said you had several, so I wanted to make sure I
Just
didn't
those
cut you
two.
off.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, much more to come, including continued conversation at our next meeting, but thank you for following up and sharing this from our conversation.
Thanks. You're welcome.
We will move now to board business, where just a few things I want to make sure are on people's radars with respect to calendars. We have 2 more board meetings this calendar year. There is 1 meeting a month in November and 1 meeting a month in December. So our November meeting is Thursday, November 14th. You should have received an invitation from Juanine that we have a board retreat prior to the board meeting. So the board retreat starts at 4:30 p.m. and will be upstairs. And then the board meeting will be here in the boardroom at 6:30 p.m. So wanted to make sure that was clear. And then the next round of Get on the Bus and Local 2209 is in early December. So Tuesday, December 3rd will be Get on the Bus to the North Education Center. Is that right? Isn't that where we just were?
Yeah, it's career and tech.
Protect the CTC.
Okay, sorry, thank you. And then the 2209 will be on Tuesday, December 10th. So more information about both of those things. With that, let's turn to once around the table, or hopefully people who did just go to North Education Center as part of Get on the Bus can just share some highlights or takeaways from that experience as well.
No, so I was fortunate to go with Heidi, Ruthie, and I didn't miss anything. At least board members, so Dr. Lightfoot and Dr. Allen did come with us. It was absolutely amazing just to see students in programming. One of my board colleagues, our chair on the Wayzata School Board, Dr. Sahoni, joined us as well, and was just absolutely amazed by just the quality of services and just everything that goes on. It's a special thing, as Wayzata board members, to be able to see the buildings and just know everything that goes on, and to see the internal mechanics, hearing from our principal, and just to really valuable observations they make on a day-to-day basis as well as the admin. So thank you so much to everyone who made the visit possible.
There have been a lot of improvements to Morris since I have been there, which. Is Ainsland, is that? Aslan? I'm sorry. That's okay. She was just a really wonderful leader. Her enthusiasm is just so infectious. It's just really, just fantastic to have her, bringing us around and describing the programming.
I was finished. Did you finish?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was really impressed with the building. I went there once for graduation, but didn't see the entire facility. And boy, it's amazing, the space and all the activities going on. It was just one thing after the other, and she walked us through the major areas. And then the early learning to hear that brought up tonight. I mean, it was just, see in practice what was happening. And just see the students engaged too in the different activities. So it lets you know that not only we're talking about it in writing, but it's happening, actually action there. And the reception part of it, as you're welcome to come in, I thought that was really great. The way you were welcome into the facility. I mean, it was just really nice process of how the communication was going. So I hope I can go to some of the other centers to see. That was my first time get on the bus. So we'll see, but yeah, very impressive. And the building, how old is the building?
Yeah, charter said 2013, I think, yeah.
Right, it looks really nice, facility, really nice. So, yeah, I was very impressed by all the different operations. And to see what's all going on in this building, from the pre-K, up to the highest level. And I was gonna ask about the ALC. That moved out of that location?
No, we're
It's
still.
still-
Yep, Nika, still.
Okay.
It's a big building.
It-
We didn't see everything.
No, we didn't.
Well, and
That's it for me.
Ruthie, since you mentioned that you hadn't been on the bus, let me put in a plug for the next one, which will be at Career Tech, which is where our friends that were here earlier today. So that is a great plug
Yeah,
because
good time.
it is one of the, it's very, yes, we'll see Tasia and Scott, and they just do such a great job. And it's one of the most fun because they do a lot of really very cool things like welding and,
Oh, yeah, I
other-
mean, definitely,
It's very fun.
Yeah.
So
definitely,
Automotive
I hope
staff.
you'll come
Yeah.
next time.
I hope so.
definitely a plug for that visit, I
Yeah.
think. And myself, Marcy and Brian, we all went along to that, several months ago in the spring, and it was just phenomenal. Just to connect you, with your, member district students and just getting to have that dialogue, seeing the programming, it's just very inspirational, so. Go.
You're a really good spokesperson.
Yes.
Appreciate
Isn't
it.
it funny when you have the first experience, what it does for you? that
Oh, yeah.
then Makes you want to just.
Keep going, exactly. So you should come.
Yeah, I've already been, I think, on 4 of them. So.
To go on 5.
I just want to echo what Ruthie said too about the students being so engaged. I mean, it was really good. We got to see art class and 2 different art classes, I think, and literacy, and it really was, it just felt like a great day, to be at North. So, yeah. it was-
Different
it was really fun.
levels of how they were working with students. I mean, you could actually see them there. What was required.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
the setting And I'm thinking just the part of the workout and the different equipment there, it just seemed to have everything in place.
I also just wanted to add that since then, we had the meeting with, local 2209 just 2 days ago.
That's right.
Tuesday, I guess.
Wow.
And, had a great conversation, talked about, we talked about iTrack, we talked about, like new higher orientation, we talked about what's coming up in the legislature, calendar, all kinds of things like that, just kind of having a nice dialogue about how do we make this, continue to make 287 a great place for folks to work. And thank you, Kevin, for, I totally put Kevin on the spot and said, can you preview the thing we just saw? Because I had just looked at the slides and he rolled with it and gave a great teaser for it. And then I think the real thing, totally lived up to expectations. So I hope some of those folks that were in that meeting will watch your presentation because it was great. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the recap of the lunch. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Dan?
And then just to add on to that, I was fortunate to be there along with Ruthie. Just thank you to Dr. Witherspoon for, talking about the promotions we've been able to have. I think our, highly qualified cohort, being able to take that test, 150, was that the number? Yeah.
162 passed.
162 of our staff, passed that test to become highly qualified. And with that is, an hourly wage increase that certainly is very desirable when we're trying to retain staff and whatnot, and having people, work through the district and hopefully retire with us. So just really, really great to hear. And thank you, Kevin.
And thank you for bringing one of your board members,
yeah.
get on the bus.
Oh, yeah. He was happy to come along.
That's great.
Anything else?
One more thing. We have an election before our next meeting, so everyone.
Oh my gosh, we do.
Yep,
Oh,
make sure
wow.
to go and vote and
Have a plan.
take care of yourselves and each other, because it's just,
And
it's a
wishing you
big
best
deal.
to those of you who
And
are up
yes.
for election.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good luck in the final days and not even weeks
Not even
anymore.
really
Yeah.
weeks.
thank you. Okay, with that, is there a motion to adjourn this evening? Or second? Second. We have a motion by Michael Birdman and a second by Kim Ross. Any final discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is 7:43 PM and we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. See you at our retreat.
Thank you.
I can't believe it is election.
I did say maybe
Registering.
3 weeks from today.
I know, but it's-
Like, 2 weeks.
that's like-